Hello, Lesley. We are now recording in the Breakthrough Coaching Interview Corner. Welcome.
Hi, Albana. Thank you very much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay, perfect. Happy to have you here. So, the idea is that in our group, Lesley, we have a lot of people, entrepreneurs and business people who work for corporates as well. And I was really keen to provide them some understanding, some insights from your side as regard to money mindset. Because this is the interview corner purpose. We're bringing the expert views, experts insights in here, or real people stories, experiences, challenges, how they overcome them, and the lessons learned. So today we are here with money expert Lesley Thomas. Lesley, can you please introduce yourself for the group members, please?
Absolutely. So I'm Lesley Thomas and I am the Money Mastery Business Coach. I come from a background of spending 20 years in corporate life. I then left 10 years ago to set up a business with my husband, Alpine Property Investments. So I've spent the last 10 years being an entrepreneur myself. And I also have my own coaching business as the Money Mastery Business Coach. And part of what I do is help entrepreneurs unblock those negative money beliefs that are holding them back and preventing them from making the decisions for their business that's going to propel them forward.
Wonderful. So you're the right person to be here, definitely. So thank you, Lesley. I'd like to start a bit with a question. So this is a buzzword, money mindset. What does it really mean?
So, money mindset, just like mindset full stop, is the conversation that we have with our subconscious. And with regards to the money part, it is the conversation we have subconsciously with ourselves about how we feel about money and our relationship with money. And it comes back to our childhood and how money was around us, not how we interacted with money, but those people that we lived with, our parents, grandparents, etc. It's actually the experience they provided for us with regards to how they dealt with money and the messages that we took on board subliminally to do with money.
Wonderful. That's a great topic. My understanding then is that we took naturally this money mindset from our surrounding, from our life, from childhood, and when we got brought up in families having a certain money mindset.
Mhm.
So we do not learn about money at school, how we can manage our personal finances, how we can invest, how we can save, and this kind of thing. We take it from family mainly, from our experience, and it throughout our life. So it comes how it comes, yeah.
And
So
that's
we
that.
are not aware about it, and this is the main issue, I believe. So when do you think, Leslie, there is a signal out there that we have an issue in our money mindset? So maybe from your experience, when coaches, when people approach you and they tell you, I potentially need your help with my money mindset, what brought them to you? What is
Okay.
the signal?
Yeah. So it's not always a black and white case of a client saying, I have, negative money beliefs. Can you please help me with them? They very often come to me and say, I'm stuck in my business. I want to grow my business, but I'm stuck at a revenue ceiling. I want to spend less time working in my business. I want to stop overextending my boundaries. I keep discounting my fees because I don't believe that people will pay what I feel I should be charging. And then, boom, light bulb moment that allows me to understand that the reason they have problems and they're not able to grow the business the way they want to is because of a set of money beliefs that they have. And
Wonderful.
that is why for me, understanding somebody's money mindset is the really first important step in allowing them to understand how these decisions haven't served them well, and what they and we need to do together to turn those decisions around. And money beliefs and your own self-value are completely and utterly interlinked. So if you are struggling to see your self-worth, your self-value, that is going to normally be down to how you view money and how money was for you when you were growing up.
Hmm.
One goes very much hand in hand with the other.
Hmm. Interesting. So you are emphasizing here that the main reason people approach you is that they kind of notice or recognize they are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
They are not successful with money. They are struggling. They're putting a lot of effort, but the return on that investment, their time and effort, is not paying off. And this is about business. But considering that in our group, Leslie, we have not only business ladies and men, but we have as well people who work in corporates and people who are employed. But still, I believe they do some money management. Yeah, they're buying a house, they're getting mortgage contracts, they making some saving, they're making some investment potentially, or not, or they they cannot meet the ends. I don't believe so. But because it is a middle class mainly the audience in this group, but definitely there is some money management that they have to do, some personal finances they have to do, and potentially ignoring. What do you think? So, is a signal that they can do better, or they need to work on their money mindset?
Well, for a start,
Just
everybody.
sorry,
Yep.
just because the idea is that by giving this explanation, some people who haven't thought about it yet may say, "Oh, yes, I can identify myself. By the way, this is a signal, and I'm not aware," because this is the problem. We go to the money mindset unconsciously, naturally, in our from our surrounding, and we are not conscious how it is. Is it healthy or not? And by not being conscious and aware, potentially you need somebody to wake you up.
Mhm.
So if you explain when a person may recognize the signals, what are the signals that a person can recognize? Yes, I might have a money mindset issue, while they are employed people as well, not just entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And it is absolutely the case that everybody at some point will have a money belief that is not serving them well, whether they are entrepreneurs, whether they are in corporate life, whether they don't work at all, they're housewives, retired, etc., etc. There will be negative money beliefs that everybody has which are not serving them. So an example of that, you mentioned that people in corporate life will be making investments. Or when you go to make an investment, one of the first things a financial advisor will do will be to understand your propensity with regards to risk. So when you come to investing your money, how much money are you prepared to risk? The higher the risk, usually the higher the potential return. If you are the sort of person that believes you need to hang on to your money, you need to save as much money as possible, then you're not going to have a very high propensity towards risk. But the lower your propensity towards risk, then actually the lower the return you're going to have. So an example of that could be somebody doesn't feel that money is safe in a bank, so they will store it under their mattress. Best way to look after your money, obviously. At least in the bank, it'll be getting some interest and we'll be safer. That's quite an exaggerated example, but it provides you, with an example. Everybody is made up of 3 money archetypes, basically. And there are 8 archetypes in total, but we're all made up of 3. And depending on the percentage of that makeup will depend on the internal battles we will have with ourselves over money. So an example of that, you could have celebrity as your key archetype. And if you have celebrity, that means you love to flash the cash. You love people to see you as being successful based on the things that you have, be that a flash car, an expensive handbag, a really nice watch, having expensive nights out, etc., etc. You want people to see you as being successful. However, under the surface of a celebrity is usually a very, very highly used credit card, because they don't always have the ability to match their expectation of how they want to be perceived with actually the money that they're bringing in. But with every archetype, there is dark and there's light and shade. So the shade to a celebrity is the need to show off, but not necessarily the cash in the bank to support it. But a celebrity archetype is very charismatic. So people are very much drawn towards them. Another example, and another archetype is an accumulator. And by the name of it, an accumulator loves to save. They feel far more secure when they are saving money, not spending money. But you can have a celebrity and an accumulator archetype. So you can imagine when you have those 2 archetypes, one part of you wants to spend and wants to show off. The other part of you is going, no, 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 no. We need to save for a rainy day, or let's not be spending money we don't have. And that's when that internal battle goes on. But also, going back to what I said about self-worth, your money beliefs and your self-worth are absolutely integrated with each other. So in corporate life, if you are struggling with self-worth, for example, you may feel that you need to be working really, really long hours, because the more hours that you work, the better you are perceived by your bosses, rather than having the mentality, I do my work really well, and I'll do it within the hours I'm employed to do it. Because that person has strong self-belief, then they're not necessarily needing to be seen to be constantly working. They have very, very good personal boundaries, because somebody with a negative mindset has very, very poor boundaries. They'll allow people to walk all over them potentially. They'll allow people to pick their brains. They'll allow people to contact them outside of working hours, because they feel they need to be seen to be giving more than they're actually contracted to do. So a negative money belief is not just about how you view money, it's actually very much about how you view yourself as well.
Makes very, very much sense. I can immediately kind of identify into my network who is that archetype and the other one. So I can match this to real people. It makes very, very, very much sense. Thank you very much for sharing that. It is so great to get informed and understand this. Just Leslie, there are a lot of debates. So in our group, I started a bit to kind of scratch the surface. I started putting some teasing questions. So this is how I manage the group posts every morning. I shoot a message, a question there to tease, to catalyze some debate and conversations. When I put this question about how you see money, So there are different opinions about money. Some people could see money as devil. Some people would ignore money, so money is not a happiness, and kind of would see that with kind of uh, with some disguise the money, disgust the money, and some others are kind of too hungry for money. So there you get all the extremes and people in between. What do you think is the most healthy notion about money?
The most healthy notion is to love money and to be grateful for what it can bring into your life, but in balance. So it is not about chasing after the money. It's definitely not about seeing money for anything negative. It is being grateful for the relationship that you can have with money and what it can help you achieve in your life and for those in your life. And when you have that balanced approach to it, I earn money, and earning money allows me to help myself and help others, then that allows you to have a state of mind where you are grateful and happy and content with money. And part of what I do with clients is actually to drill down into what they think about money and actually take them through an exercise where they are money. So they visualize being money and how they would talk to money if money was a person in front of them. And that's what I very often will say to a client. Imagine money is in front of you and it's somebody you know. Have a conversation with it. What is coming up for you when you're having that conversation? How are you feeling? And again, depending on your archetype, you can be the sort of person who just doesn't think about money. It comes in, it provides me with enough every month. I can put some money aside if I want to, and then it comes in again the next month. But they have very little feeling about it because it serves them without upsetting them. And I think that is the important thing to appreciate, that money is serving you. You are serving money as well, but it's not upsetting you. And I think to have that balanced approach of abundance, essentially. So, there are two money mindsets, one of scarcity, one of abundance. And as the name suggests, if you have a scarcity mindset, then you have a fear that you're not going to have and don't have enough money. And even when money comes in and you have a scarcity mindset, you can have an urge to get rid of it just as quickly because you don't have that healthy relationship. So a lot of people who have a
The
scarcity,
dirty thing, yeah?
yeah,
Dirty thing. Let's get out of my hand. Bring it to me. No worries.
exactly, absolutely. And if that resonates with you, do not worry. You are not alone. A lot of people, have that mindset. It's almost like holding a hot potato and let's get rid of it. So a
Yeah.
lot of people do have that. Whereas if you have an abundant mindset, you will believe there will always be enough to go around. And more important than that, you will be grateful for money and the
Mm,
fact that there will be enough to go around, essentially.
yeah. So thank you very much. I picked up two messages here. So I like very much the metaphor you utilize, that you kind of make people think about money as if there is a person. So it's kind of a relationship between you and money, similar to a relationship between you and another person. And either you get into a friendship, either you get into a conflict. And if you kind of look to the other person in a good way, a kind of you consider a friend, that attracts the person, that brings that person next to you. But if you see in a conflictual way, the other party, you kind of negate, you got that disgust, is a dirty thing, is bad, is a devil thing, you potentially will get that person go away. And I think this metaphor is very nice when you consider relationship between human in the same way as a relationship uh, with money, because it's the same way. So you either attract money, either you push the money away on the, and that will depend on how is your notion about money, how you consider money is a good or a bad thing. And definitely, I would say that not necessarily you need to put the equal sign between money and happiness, but the healthy thing is that the best optimal way is to give to everything its a right place, its own place. And money is definitely something necessary, as is water,
Absolutely.
as is oxygen.
Yeah.
So if you need to drink water, you need the money to go and buy it or pay for it. Hmm?
Yeah.
If you, I mean, whatever, if you need to eat, money is as important as food. If you need to eat, you need money to buy it. So put the equal between money and things that you need to live your life, to and to your wellness. So this is, money can buy a ticket for vacation with family. Money can pay for charity to kind of save the life of a person. So money is definitely a good thing. Yeah. So it's not necessarily that you buy happiness, but you can still buy your well-being, and you can cause happiness to yourself, to your dear people, to other people you don't know and you really want to lend a hand of help. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And yeah, the other message I took from you was about scarcity and abundance. And this is a beautiful concept that you put the contrast there. It is goes very much well aligned with that. Uh, let's say it is fixed and growth mindset as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very
Absolutely.
much aligned.
Mhm.
So beautiful. And so majority of people would have this scarcity mindset, and they would, that scarcity mindset would be associated by fear, by negativity around money.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, would associate money to something bad that is causing that frustration to you, that kind of feel negativity when you get the scarcity mindset. And abundance is kind of when you think that there is enough for everybody, and rather than kind of you shrinking and you kind of going to negative mood, you kind of instead you would go to the opportunity mode, to creativity mode. If you got the abundance mindset, you'll say, yes, it is out there. I got the conviction. Let me think, be creative, imagine how I can find out the opportunities for me, and that open up to abundance afterwards.
And that is exactly it, because somebody with first of all, you can be extremely rich, extremely wealthy, and have a scarcity mindset. You can be at the other end of the scale and very poor and have an abundance mindset. So one is not necessarily equated with the amount of wealth that you have. It's to do with what's going on up here and the relationship that you personally have with money. Um, if you have a scarcity mindset, exactly as you said, you will shut yourself off to the possibility of creating more income for yourself. However, the opposite is true. If you have an abundant mindset, so scarcity will say, I do not have enough money. An abundant mindset will say, I will find a way to make more money. So you are giving your brain that permission to help you to find a solution. And the example I give to this is, say, for example, you're listening to the radio and a song comes on the radio and you have to go out before you're able to hear who that song was by. Or you're in the street and a face passes you by and that face is relatively familiar, but you can't quite place who they are. You're back at home and you're making a cup of coffee or you're turning on the television, all of a sudden, ping, you remember who sang that song or who that face was in the street. That happened because you gave your permission, your brain the permission to carry on working on that solution in the background. It's exactly the same with money when you have an abundance mindset. You're giving your brain permission to help you come up with a solution. And when you're in that more positive state of mind, that is when you have that brainwave, that light bulb moment, the aha moment, where you work out what you need to do to create more income. And that is the key between those two mindsets. And you're absolutely right, very similar to fixed and growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you don't believe you're ever going to grow, you're not going to be able to come up with a new way of doing something. If you have a growth mindset, you accept you might make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes, and you accept you will find a way to do what you need to do to move you from A to B. And with the money mindset, it's exactly the same. You either help yourself by giving yourself permission to have that true relationship with money that serves you, or you can choose to view money as evil, as something that you have no control over, and therefore you can't move positively from that position. And to link the abundant mindset to something in real life, and the archetype element as well. Archetypes are a little bit like siblings in a family, brothers and sisters. You largely all get along, but every now and then something will happen to wind each other up. You might fall out, but you come back together again. You understand why you fell out. You understand what you need to do in order to get on better with your sibling. And when you understand your money archetypes, that's when you can recognize the internal battle you're having with yourself around your money beliefs. And that is when you can start putting an action plan in place. And that's exactly what I do with my clients. We put an action plan in place for them to recognize what the issue is they're having, when they're having it, and the action steps they need to take to turn it around.
Yeah, thank you. So we're talking about different topics. So now I want to go right in the center. So you have a lot of experience helping people with their money mindset. I'd love to understand, what do you find to be the typical money mindset problem that business owners or employees are facing
Oh,
nowadays?
okay, so they can be different. For business owners, it is very much about undervaluing their worth, so undercharging and over delivering. And if I had to break it down for business owners, it will be about giving away too much information and not charging the right amount for it. And that obviously is also interlinked with not setting the right boundaries. So largely client and entrepreneurs, business owners will reach the ceiling of income in their business, and the only choice they have is to work longer hours or put their fees up. And there's a big resistance to putting their fees up because there's a fear people aren't going to pay me. People are not going to pay any more for my service. That is a limiting belief that they have. So part of the work that I do around that is to get them to understand that clients will always pay for the results that you bring. So it isn't about an exchange of time for money, it is money for results. And once people start to see the switch that what I'm doing, somebody comes to me not because they're going to spend a certain amount of time in my company, they come to me because they want results. And if you're demonstrating to a client very, very clearly the results they're going to get. You can move away, for example, from charging by the hour. You can actually start putting packages in place that gives clients the choice of how to work with you, depending on how quickly they want to achieve results. In corporate life, how it will show up largely will be around how they are valuing themselves in terms of the job that they're doing. And it may well be that they don't feel they can go and speak to their boss about a pay rise. They could have been on that same level of pay for a long period of time, but they don't feel they can go and have the conversation that says, I'm now doing uh, X more in my role. I'm finding I'm spending longer working as I'm responding to messages in the evening, over weekends, etc. But they won't push back. They're allowing their employers to push the boundaries. The boundaries become very, very elastic. And rather than pulling them back in and saying, no, this is what I am contracted to do, and this is what I will do, employees with a negative money mindset and a low self-worth, they will allow those boundaries to be pushed and flexed and end up in resentment, basically. And that is always a really, really clear sign in corporate life. If an employee is resentful, it's normally because their boundaries have been overstepped.
Hmm, interesting. Oh, beautiful. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm so happy to, to bring you in here. So, as regard to the business owners, what I have seen as well might be that business owners might be very clever into, for example, a coach doing coaching, or a painter doing painting, or somebody, a dentist being a good dentist, or I mean, you may excel into your core competence, but when it comes into sales, you kind of fear to face people and kind of uh, bring out your offering to in front of your audience, to your potential customers. So people kind of drag back and they do not show off. But unless you show off and you kind of take the courage, yes, you have something worthy that is required, and people would thank you for showing off because they need to know why is a good dentist, why is a good money mindset coach or a life coach. If you do not show off, they wouldn't know. You wouldn't help them with what they really need. So people, what I have seen, or potentially is me as well, I kind of tend to drag back. I know I can be a great coach, but frankly speaking, I'm afraid to show off and say, yes, I mean, this is what I offer coaching. I can help people. I have proved to help people, but I'm afraid to go out and show off. So doing sales or marketing is not the core competence to these business owners, and they try to they drag back. They kind of do not play these roles, especially if they are solopreneurs. While in the other case, with when a person is employed, I would see twofold into the employment relationship. I would see into my coaching practice. I've seen a lot of people, especially ladies. This is more typical for ladies. That they kind of accept to stay in a job they don't love.
Mhm.
They hate it. They're doing a job. They see that doesn't work. That is causing a lot of frustration. But they feel that they're gonna need that salary at the end of the month. And what they do, they sell their lifetime for just a salary. And I'm telling you, I see people that have the minimum salary in a company that they are paying for that minimum salary with their mental health.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it is about, to your point, that to your self esteem. and self-value recognition, that you have one life to live, and you have to recognize you got value to sell out to the companies. And either you put boundaries in terms of workload, in terms of overtiming, or as well, if the job is not the right one for you, doesn't match your profile, you don't need to struggle with a job that you don't love anyway. You've got just one life. Yeah.
Yeah,
And we see in
absolutely.
the personal finances as well for people who are employed. The thing or the other. So what I have recognized differently from business owners who have kind of passed that threshold, so they got some money or they got some skills and some value there to sell, and they invest it and they build up a business, a money machine to produce more. For some people, especially for people who work in corporates or employed people, this kind of people have a risk profile that they are a adversarial. Yeah, so they have by default sold out the risk to the company owner.
Yeah,
So they go for a 9 to 5 job because they do not want to have risk on themselves. So they just go there. They sold out the risk to the business owner, to the company. They take the salary at the end of the month, and that's it. But while they have this kind of risk profile towards the choice to be employee or entrepreneur, they have the same risk profile when it comes to manage their own savings.
yeah,
So potentially they can generate some saving. When it comes to this point, they tend to put them under the pillow or in the bank. And the fact is that when you put the money in a storage, you cannot expect the money to remain the same or increase, because all the time the inflation rate will eat up the interest or will eat up part of your money.
yeah,
So money shrinks if you do not invest it.
absolutely.
So this is the biggest, I think the biggest problem of people, because people are not taking risks. People who are in corporates, people who are employees, they do not have developed this a risk profile, or this understanding that money need to be invested.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you asked me for an example, of people in corporate life, who, how can they be aware of having a negative money belief? And you mentioned the process of buying a house, taking on a mortgage. Somebody with a healthy attitude towards risk and a healthy attitude towards money will tend to be looking to the future. So when buying a house, they won't necessarily just get the smallest house they possibly can. They think, okay, I'm looking to have children, or I'd like to spend time in the garden, and therefore they will say, so I'll take on a bigger mortgage to allow me to have a bigger house so that I can spend a longer amount of time in that house. And also because that house will probably have a higher capital increase than a smaller house, or choose a house in a more expensive location. So they are prepared to look at what they can afford and go towards the maximum size mortgage, as opposed to somebody who has money mindset issues, who has very, very nervous risk profile, and therefore will say, no, 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 I'll go for the smallest house I need. I only need 2 bedrooms. If I have 3 children, then I will just move to another house when hopefully I can afford to do so. So that relationship with money and the relationship with your attitude towards money. And somebody said to me, a coach that I worked with when I was training actually said to me, how you do money is how you do everything. And that is very, very true. So you will have a direct relationship with money, no matter whether you are an employee or an owner of a business, the employer, or somebody who's not working. And your relationship with money will show up frequently throughout your life, throughout your daily life, basically. And it's once you have that ability to recognize that something is coming up for you that is preventing you from moving forward, that is when you're able to make that right decision, that informed decision as to what you are going to do. Are you going to stay stuck because you don't want to take that risk? And that might be the right decision for you, but it needs to be a decision that you have consciously come to, as opposed to a decision you're making because of a scarcity mindset. And that is why, with all my clients, the very first thing I will do is take them through an archetype assessment, because then they start to have more information in which to understand themselves and the decisions that they've made. But equally, I'm able to have more information when we start delving into their business and understanding the decisions that they've made. We can reflect back, you made that decision because of that particular archetype. Do you understand now that if you drew more on another one of your archetypes, you would have possibly made a different decision? And that is when they're able to see, really see how, with all the right reasons as they perceived it, but actually they made a decision based on the wrong information. And once they have that correct view of how they should be dealing with their business and moving forward with their business, that is when they're able to make those dramatic shifts that allows a business owner to make more revenue. But in corporate life, again, once you have that knowledge and understanding, that is when you're able to see how you are interacting within the company you're employed, how you're reacting with your boss, but also how you interact with those people that could be reporting into you as well. So having that real re-education and being able to re-educate yourself in terms of money, the impact isn't just on your finances. The impact is completely and utterly on your self-worth, how it will remove imposter syndrome. It'll get you to really understand, I am bringing those results for my client, because again, I will take clients through what is called their signature system, how they get the results they do for their client. Because once they understand how they go about getting the results for their client, the unique elements that they bring, from that falls very, very clear marketing messages that they can use to attract their ideal client. So the magic is really, really in re-educating yourself and understanding why you've made those decisions and what will happen, the possibilities of what will happen when you're able to make an informed decision, and a decision that is putting you front and center of what's going on around you. So you're not reacting to decisions other people have made about you. You are reacting based on the knowledge you have of yourself and what you're bringing.
Wonderful. So thank you, Lesley, very much. Definitely. So I talk by my experience. It took a long time. I mean, I understood very late in my life some money mindset notions and ideas that I thought I, I should know them much earlier. But definitely, my family, my parents had their own limited beliefs. They took it, inherited from their family, they developed somehow. But I didn't learn anything in school. So I recognize late in my life by learning by myself, approaching for information, that there is not an information system there structured and systemized that you can obtain this money mindset as if you would take the math information, or you can learn geography, history, language at school. You never take this information, this on the money mindset. Yeah.
Yes.
So for a majority of people, like I was before, at a late age, I mean, frankly speaking, are not even aware that it does exist this kind of information, that if you tap into it, you might choose to take decisions differently on your life. If you go for an employment or for being entrepreneur, if you're going for a small house or a big house mortgage, if you're going for a side business or not, if you're going to stay in this job or in this marriage, because you don't get money, because of finances, because you feel blocked within that. So this kind of decisions might be taken differently if you have a different money mindset. But at first place, I think a person might need to be exposed
Yeah.
to these options,
Yeah.
to this generic information that there are options out there. It's not just the cliche that the society taught us, and majority of people go through school, through university, through master diploma, school, they get a job and they're stuck. That is all. So it is not just this. There are options out there that would require you to have a different risk profile, have you a different, wider horizon
Yeah.
and options to think about, to choose and pick up. So open up your mind, get an open mind. So to get this open mind, so to get this generic information on on money mindset, what are the best books that you would advise? Because I think this is the so some people need to go through this to reach a threshold to overcome that before they might say yes, I think there are options out there potentially, but now I need an expert
Mhm.
to help me. But first, they need to be waken up. What are some books?
Yeah. Well, I
Uh,
think first of all, I don't necessarily think they need to start with looking at books. I think it's a case of asking them some very basic questions. Am I happy doing what I'm doing? If I'm not happy, why am I not happy? And write these down. Why am I not happy? And what should I do to improve the situation? And if they ask themselves those three questions and are very honest with themselves, it'll be very surprising the information that comes up that allows them to instantly realize, yes, I have a money belief that I need to get over. So somebody in corporate life, am I happy in the job that I'm doing currently? No, not really. Why am I not happy? The hours I'm working are too long. I'm not making enough money. My boss doesn't respect the work that I do. He or she constantly emails me of a weekend when I'm on holiday, etc. Okay, what can I do about it? I could change jobs. I could set up my own business. I could go to a different part of the company. Okay, so what's stopping you from doing those things? Oh, I'm nervous if I speak to my boss, he won't understand me and I might get fired. So, what does that instantly show you? If somebody says that, they're lacking in self value, they're lacking in self worth. They don't need a book to tell them that. It's having that conversation with themselves. Also, I've put together, and if anybody in your group wants to email me, I'm happy to send them this. It's basically it's a money mindset masterclass, and it takes you through a lot of what I have said today, but also takes you through a series of questions about how money was around you when you were growing up. So it starts for you to become educated about why you have the mindset you have about money. But more importantly than that, and the most important thing that I do for my clients, I feel, is to get them to focus on where they want to be, where they want to get to. And I make it relatively short term. I look at 3 years' time. So in 3 years' time, where do you want to be? How much do you want to be earning? And we go through a little exercise. And we then go through another exercise of, as a person who wants to be earning this in 3 years' time, what are you no longer going to tolerate? So we then go through a list of things that they'll no longer tolerate. So it could be things like, I'm not going to give away information for free. I'm not going to undercharge. I'm not going to allow my boss to pressurize me into working longer hours for no pay, no extra pay. So the whole set of things that come up essentially. We then talk about exactly what it is they bring with them in terms of experience they have, qualifications that they've earned, awards, anything to do with achievement that potentially we all start to forget over time. We start to no longer remember, oh yes, I wrote an article about so-and-so that was published in certain publication, or I won an award for being, the best team member, or anything that I had testimonials from my clients with regard to the results they get from me. So everything to do with reminding somebody where they have come from and the value that they offer. I also take them through, and in the workbook, there's an exercise that takes those limiting beliefs that you hold and turns them into a positive. So, for example, I never earn enough money will be turned into, I find a way to make more money. Clients won't pay my fees if I increase them. I will find clients who recognize the value I bring and will always pay, the fees that I charge, etc., etc. And as well as my workbook, I also have put together 99 positive affirmations, because the beauty with affirmations is what you're doing with affirmations is you are reminding yourself of the healthy relationship you can have with money, but also about being grateful for what you have and for what you are going to have. And if you put yourself into a mindset of recognizing what you have, being grateful for what you have and will have, that allows you to have a plan of how you're going to get those things. So one of my favorite affirmations is, the more people I help, the more money I earn. The more money I earn, the more people I can help. So it's an iterative thing. So my value and my finances are based on the value I bring for my clients. And I say this to myself, every day. I also, every time, everybody, when you start doing this, you'll be very surprised. We don't pay enough account for small amounts of money that come our way. You might find some money on the street. You might find it on the back of your sofa. You might get a small or a large lottery win. But every time I receive income, every time money comes my way, I'm really sorry, the sun is terrible where I am at the moment. I'm trying to move around. That's a little bit better, right up against my wall. But I think if you start being grateful for when money comes up in your life and shows up in your life, you start having a much healthier attitude towards it. I mean, if people, if there are lots of books out there around mindset, but I think it is more about recognizing, are you happy? If you're not, why you're not, and what you can do about it. Understanding where you have come from in terms of the relationship your family had with money. And my workbook goes through about 10 different questions. So you journal the answers basically. And in journaling those answers, that provides you with a wealth of information for you to really get where your key issues are. And then again in the workbook, it brings out exercises that get you future focused, so you really can be concentrating on, how am I going to get to X? What am I going to do to get to X? And just as importantly, what am I going to stop doing? Because by having that vision of yourself in your mind of the new improved you, for want of a better description, that is when you are going to A, put the steps in place to get there, but B, have a very, very frequent and healthy reminder of what you must do, i.e. stop getting in your way of getting you there. And that applies to people in corporate life as much as it applies to business owners. Because if you're in corporate life, you might be saying, in 3 years' time, I want my manager's job. Or in 3 years' time, I want my manager's job. Excuse me. Or I might well have moved to a different company and be doing something completely different. But by removing yourself from where you are now and understanding the steps you need to do to get you there, in my mind, I didn't read books on mindset until the last couple of years. And all they have done is informed me. I did a lot of work on my mindset many, many, many years ago, and it was all around the questions, basically. And I will remember a quote I was told relatively recently. If you're not having fun, you're paying too high a price. And I think that is something we all should remember. You want to have some water?
Beautiful. This is exactly what I was teaching to my student group recently, because I'm having some ladies who are kind of struggling with their work, and I mean, I found out that the cost they're paying in return of a monthly salary, it is huge, huge, huge.
Yeah.
It is their mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So then, if you're not having fun, I mean, you're paying a huge cost.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Beautiful. I mean, definitely your workbook will be a very pragmatic and beneficial tool to all group members to kind of work out what is their money mindset, identify their blocking points, and try to scratch a bit the surface on this field for themselves and get some good ideas, better decisions to make. I'm so grateful, Leslie, for joining this interview corner today and sharing such great insights on money mindset with our group members. So I have to recognize you are so wise and so experienced into this field, and I found very enjoyable
Me too.
exchanging and talking with you today. Thank you very much
No
for
problem.
being our guest today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Can you please put, so when I put the recording within the group, if you can enter there your group or your website where people can find you,
Yeah.
if they would be interested to be in further touch or to get access to your workbook, please.
Perfect. Because what I will do is I will send the workbook, and I will also send the affirmations as well, because it's nice to have both. So I'll do that, no problem at all.
Tip top. Thank you very, very much.
Okay.
Have a great day then.
So
Sunny
thank you
day
very much.
there. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.